Welcome to a new Housework with Suzanne, where I try to do housework and yap at the same time. Yesterday I actually did some housework while I was yapping, and let's hope that I am able to do that today too. Today I want to talk a bit more about worldviews and how that affects supervision and similar helping professions like therapists, CPS workers, and so on. Because something I noticed on my old Astro account on Norwegian Twitter was, like I said in the last video on Worldviews, that the people reading my tweets and watching my videos and so on, they didn't manage to understand that you can't take concepts and words and theories meant for a long-term relationship and apply it to a short-term relationship. And you can't take the words, concepts and theories from a short-term relationship and apply it on a long-term relationship. If you want to help people in abusive relationships, you have to look at the type of relationship they are actually in, and you have to use the correct theories and concepts and words and so on. And I was actually not aware of, before 2017, when I started what I call Project Astobro 1, I wasn't aware of that people had so bad reading skills, so bad interpretation skills, that it resulted in this constant mix-up of what I was saying. And I also saw that, I have seen that in my private life, in my friends and so on, in the public system, that there is this, and as in the Marius case, as we have seen in the newspapers, that there is this complete mix-up of concepts and theories of about domestic abuse. And I was not aware of that in 2017, that people would do that level of mix-up, and that it would be such a big, wide misunderstanding that people didn't manage to understand what I and a lot of other people were writing and talking about. And this is something I, of course, have to take seriously, because if I am going back to work as a supervisor, I have to accept that the ability in the population is very, very low, that it's almost impossible for people to understand what they are reading. And something I then want to say now in this video is that there is a big difference between taking a little snippet of a life and analyze that to get the big picture, and to take the same snippet and analyze the big picture based on that little snippet, as if it was possible to see the big picture based on something that is actually not even there. And that was a bit badly explained by me, but I will try to explain it better. I will take this example of some construction workers that was in my house, and I could see on those construction workers just in a couple of days that they did shitty jobs everywhere they went. And the reason why I could see that was that if they had such a low respect for me and my neighbors, that makes it likely that they have very little respect for other customers too. So that is a way you actually can supervise people, by taking a little snippet of their life and say, okay, this says something about the big picture. Because to do construction work in my house is not in any way a unique situation. That's the same as doing construction work in everybody else's house, because I do not have any kind of special, unique relationship to these construction workers, to this business. And neither have my neighbors and my neighbors and my neighbors and my neighbors and my neighbors. So it's the same. It's supposed to be, when these construction workers are doing a job, it's supposed to be the same in every single house. And when we then see that in 3, 4, 5 houses, the work is crappy, then we can say that, okay, then it's likely that it's crappy in all houses these people are working in. But it's not possible to do the same if the situation is unique. You can only do this if the situation is supposed to be the same in every instance. So it's a thinking error to believe that if you see a certain type of abuse being done in a short-term relationship, it's an error to believe that if you see the same thing in a long-term relationship, that means it's abuse, or the other way around. Because a short-term relationship and a long-term relationship is not supposed to be the same. It shall not look the same. You shall not have the same kind of dates with a person you have been married to for 40 years as you are supposed to have with a person you met 4 weeks ago. Because after 40 years, of course you shall still have date night, and of course you shall still show love, but it's over. The time is over where you were supposed to ask them about their long-term goals and how many children they wanted and so on and so on. After 40 years, that's not of relevance anymore. So a long-term relationship and a short-term relationship isn't supposed to look the same. So you cannot look at how a person behaves in a short-term relationship and say that if a person in a long-term relationship behaves the same way, they are healthy or abusive and so on, because the situations are so different and they are supposed to look different. And Chris and Jess and Bree from Love is Blind is a good example of this, because I've seen now that some YouTube psychologists are doing analysis of Chris's behavior. And what I see in these analyses is that Chris's behavior, yes, it is horrible in the context he is in. But if he had been married to Jess for 30 years and had the same conversations, that would be totally fine. Because if he and Jess was in a secure marriage for 30 years and they had no plan of getting divorced and so on. It's amazing what you can say to a person that you are in a relationship with and they will still not react to it. It's not abuse to say to your spouse of 30 years that sometimes I actually think about sex with other people. That's not abuse. That's actually very normal. That will happen, and these kinds of conversations will also happen in long-term relationships. But if you have dated a person for 3 weeks and you start to say, sometimes I think about sex with other people, then everybody can see that that's a bit weird. And if you have been in a relationship for, let's say, 3 months, and the only thing you talk about is sex with other people, even though you promise to be in a monogamous relationship, yeah, then it starts to look like abuse. So I don't know how, but I have to work on this to find out how we can reach people with this very crucial knowledge about that situations that are supposed to be different will also look different. So you can't just look at the one situation and say that, oh, that will say this about the big picture. No, you can only do that in situations where it's supposed to be similar every single time. You can look at your construction workers. If you have construction work being done on your house and the neighborhood also has construction work being done in their house by the same construction workers, and it's supposed to be the same in every house, then you can say that, okay, we see that there is badly done work here, and badly done work here, and badly done work here. Okay, this construction work business, they have problems. They have probably, if we look all over the city, we will probably find the same mistakes all over the city. But you cannot do that when it comes to short-term relationships, long-term relationships. What is rude behavior and abuse in a short-term relationship will be completely normal in a long-term relationship because it's not supposed to look the same. Yeah. So that was 13 minutes with Yap, and I actually did some housework. See you tomorrow or another